We joked about funeral songs. I wanted Don't Stop Me Now. Don't stop me now. I'm having such a good time. I'm having a ball. Don't stop me now. If you have a good time, just give me a call. Don't stop me, 'cause I'm having a good time. Yes, I'm having a good time. Don't wanna stop at all. I started having funny symptoms. I get a smell in my nose, and then a sicky feeling, then a deja vu feeling, then I'd just black out.
Well, myself and my wife are both nurses, and we didn't spot anything wrong for about a good 6 to 9 months. She had feelings of deja vu.
For me, I was so young. I think I was 13 when she first got diagnosed, and for most of the intensive treatment that she had. So I didn't really understand what was going on. At the same time, I was still going to school, and for parts of the year I was living with different relatives. So while she was in hospital, I lived with my auntie in Liverpool, and then for another bit my other auntie came and lived here with me, and I did find it quite hard to cope because obviously I didn't have my mum and dad with me, and my sister was in hospital.
So I think for Molly it does bring back a lot of memories, because when you're like the sister of somebody who's going through it, she kind of got like pushed to the side because I was ill, and she was getting looked after by family members.
Great hits! Oh, Molly, thank you. I'm wearing them today.
Mum took me to the doctors, and then the results from the scan came back as, oh yeah, you've got a brain tumour, can you come in tonight? So that was on the Friday, and then they said you're going to have an operation on the Monday. My first question to him was, am I going to die? And he said, well, Hannah, some people do die of this, but others survive, and that was the only answer he could give. So I had the first operation under a man called Dr. Sinner. I know what a name for somebody you're having your first operation with. And he managed to remove 5 centimetres of tumour, but he said he didn't feel confident enough to remove the rest. So he came out of surgery because it was going around my optic nerve, and he didn't want to leave me blind. I came back to school with all the staples still in my head from surgery, and then another surgeon came along and said, look, I feel confident that I'd be able to operate on it. He said the results from the biopsy have come back as non-cancerous, but I fear I'll be able to operate. He said you've got 2 decisions, either you have the operation or we'll monitor it closely. He managed to remove it all, but the results from that came back as cancerous.
I think I can only remember her crying once, and that was when we met with the oncologist and the surgeon when she was told after a second operation that it was cancerous.
And after like intense chemo and radio, the cancer regrew. All I could say was, am I going to be bald or shiny bald? And he said shiny bald. So that was promising. Considering he was bald as well, it didn't look very good. The same surgeon came along and said, I feel confident that I'll be able to operate on it. Had the 3rd operation, and during the operation I had a stroke. Woke up with the whole face on one side. And my little sister, I think she found it hard when once I'd had the stroke, because I wasn't conscious for ages. I didn't come round for a long time, and apparently she sat in the corner crying about it. And she did do an interview like a few months ago, and they asked her how she felt when I had the stroke, and she started crying then.
We have tried to encourage her to be normal with her feelings and be herself and be open about it.
My family dealt with it okay. My dad was very quiet. He didn't really talk much to anyone about how he felt about it. Mum was the total opposite. She spoke to everyone about it.
We've cried probably loads of times, and now it's 5 years later. I think you get to a stage where you no longer feel as much as maybe what you did 5 years ago, and you become quite blasé, almost complacent with it as a way of coping. But I think we were scared shitless was the real term for it.
I found out about the brain tumour charity after my second lot of surgery, when I found out it was cancerous. I just googled brain tumour charities, and I was originally going to set up my own, but there's a lot of things that you have to have behind it, like somebody managing it and somebody who's accountable for it and copyrights and things like that. So I decided that I was going to set up an umbrella fund with the charity so that I could direct where my funds went to and know where it was going, and not towards their wages, but towards something that was going to be good for brain tumours.
She did it almost straight away after coming out of hospital. I think while she was in hospital, she was actually starting to research what it takes to set up a new charity, how you can do it, what people and grants can help. And then we found the brain tumour charity, and then she just started working with them almost straight away. And obviously for the first couple of months we were like, take your time getting into it because you're under chemotherapy. While she was planning it, she was still really sick, but I think she just wanted to do as much as she can to find a cure and to make sure that nobody else goes through something like what we've gone through.
I think it was just that because it was so poorly funded, I needed to do something about it because nobody else is going to do it. The government don't really fund it, so you have to do it. It's something that I had to do. I wasn't really inspired to do it.
We stood bucket collecting for about an hour after the evening race at Chester Racecourse, and there was about 25 volunteers there standing at each of the exit gates, ready to mug people as they come out for their donations. And the sincerity and the genuineness and compassion of people is restores your faith in it, because people have just been wonderful. The majority of them have been wonderful with donating.
I think it's more about the outcomes being bad that makes it seem worse, because when you're going through it, it's thinking, oh gosh, there's no money for research, am I going to pop my clogs?
We just said look after yourself, but she said I want to raise 10,000, and within a few months she'd raised 10,000, and it went from 1,000 to 10,000 to 50,000 to 100,000, and we just couldn't stop her. She was unstoppable.